Hi there. I'm so excited to welcome you to the Arthritis Life podcast, where we share arthritis life stories and tips for thriving with autoimmune arthritis. My name is Cheryl Crow, and I am passionate about helping people navigate real life with arthritis beyond joint pain. I've been living with rheumatoid arthritis for 20 years, and I'm also a mom, occupational therapist, video creator, support group leader, and I created the Room to Thrive self-management program. I am so excited to help you live a more empowered life with arthritis. We're going to cover everything from kitchen life hacks to navigating the healthcare system to coping with friends who just don't get it. Seriously, no topic is going to be off limits on this podcast. My interviewees and I share our honest stories of how chronic illness affects our lives. This includes discussions about mental health, sex, shame, pregnancy, body image, advocacy, self-acceptance, and so much more. You'll hear stories from all ends of the spectrum, from a person who's living in medicated remission from psoriatic arthritis to somebody living with severe mobility restrictions and severe pain from rheumatoid arthritis. You'll hear how people manage their conditions in different ways, like medications, mindfulness, movement, social support, work accommodations, and so much more. You'll also hear from rheumatology experts who just get it. We'll dive deep into the science behind chronic pain and what's the latest evidence for lifestyle changes that can help you thrive with arthritis, including exercise, sleep, nutrition, stress reduction, and more. This is your chance to sit down and chat with a friend who's been there. Ready to figure out how to manage your arthritis life? Let's get started.
Hi, everyone, and welcome. You actually get the pleasure of hearing this podcast recording on two podcasts. So, that's going to be just so much fun. So Cheryl and I are doing this together with our fellow Rheum Champions, and I'm just going to dive right in here. So welcome to a very special episode on our podcast. Today, we're pulling back the curtain for a Rheum Champions Tell All. We're joined by some incredibly amazing advocates from across the country, each living with rheumatic diseases and using their voices to champion research, awareness, and of course, change. In this heartfelt roundtable, you will hear what inspired us to step into this role and our biggest takeaways from 2025, the Rheumatology Investigators Meeting, and why community has become our greatest strength. From powerful stories to unforgettable friendships, this episode is a reminder that when patients lead, progress follows. So hello, everyone.
Hi, good to see you.
Hello.
And Cheryl, I'm just going to let you take it away.
Yeah, I thought, I'll give one quick additional piece of context and then we'll go do introductions so you can get to know all 6 people who are on this recording today. But when we say that we are Rheum Champions, that is an initiative from this really great nonprofit organization called the Rheumatology Research Foundation. And they not only are a nonprofit that funds research to help, of course, find better treatments and cures and potential cures and effective treatments for rheumatic diseases, they actually also help improve the workforce because, as we all know, there are long waiting lists. It's really hard to get into a rheumatologist sometimes. So they also fund initiatives to try to convince more doctors to become rheumatologists, which is really fun. So what they have done as a nonprofit is they've wanted to amplify the patient voice and then maybe start including patient stories and utilizing all of our connections on social media to help spread the word about all the great work that they're doing as well. So every year they have something called the Investigators Meeting where all of the researchers who they've funded come together and give updates on their research. And we all attended that in May of 2025 as the Rheum Champions and helped, again, share on our social media all these interesting updates. So that's who we are. So I think we could just start by introducing ourselves. I'll start with Chelsea. Can you let the listeners know where you are from and what is the health condition or health conditions, plural, that made you want to become a Rheum Champion?
Yes, so I am Chelsea. I'm from Fort Worth, Texas, and I was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis in 19. And then a couple years later, I was diagnosed with scleritis and recently was diagnosed with PCOS.
Thank you so much for sharing. Can you let the listeners know what PCOS stands for?
So stands for polycystic ovarian syndrome, and so it really affects hormones. And from what I was told, it can be due to my autoimmune disorder. So I'm still learning about it. It's still a fresh diagnosis.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for sharing. I know all the listeners who have overlapping conditions like that will also feel seen by you and your
Yes,
story.
thank you.
Stasha, can you also let us know where you're from and what conditions brought you to the Rheum Champions? Thank you. Thank you for sharing. What about Naya?
Hello, my name is Naya Sims. I am from Tifton, Georgia, and I was diagnosed with lupus and rheumatoid arthritis in 2012.
Thank you. Next, Tanya.
Hi, everyone. So, my name is Tanya. I was diagnosed with my first autoimmune disease when I was 12 years old, but lupus was my most recent diagnosis, which was actually even more than a decade ago, 11 years ago, in my late 20s. And I am from North Carolina and currently live here.
Awesome. Thank you. How about you, Jenny?
Hi, everyone. I'm Jen Weaver, and in 2012, I was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis, followed by a diagnosis of pustular psoriasis in 2017. And in 2024, I was diagnosed with alopecia areata. And I live in Washington State.
Yes, and we are, in the global sense, we are neighbors. My name is Cheryl Crow. I was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis and gastroparesis in the year 2023. I live in the greater Seattle area, and I'm also an occupational therapist, which is just a little fun fact about me. So, the first thing we wanted to, after introducing ourselves, is share what was something that inspired you to share your story more publicly as a Rheum champion. That we all kind of talked about that a little bit at the conference, that there can be a little bit of trepidation the first time you start sharing publicly, and on social media especially, there can be a lot of fears about what are people going to say, and stuff like that. So Chelsea, what inspired you to share your story publicly, and then specifically through the Rheum Champions?
So I decided to start sharing my story probably a couple years after my diagnosis. So it was around COVID time that I was stuck at home. I had stopped working around that time, just due to my autoimmune disorder and also because of COVID. So I was home for a lot of my newly diagnosis, and I had been seeing a therapist during that time, and she had encouraged me to try to find a support group for others that are on the same journey as me, and I couldn't find any locally, obviously, because of COVID and because it is rare to find in person support groups for chronic illness. And so she encouraged me to share my story on my social media. And at first, I was very hesitant to do that because I didn't know what it was going to look like, if people were going to be kind, just the typical fears when starting to put your life and personal things on for the public to criticize or comment on. And actually, the first two people that I followed was Cheryl and was Another Day with RA, Allie. Those were my very first two people that I followed that had RA, and they really encouraged me to just continue sharing my story. So that kind of pushed me into finding Meg, which is it's Meg Fitness, and then through Meg I found Jenny, and then it just kind of snowballed after that, which is nice because now I have like a little community of people that I've gotten to know these past few years, and through all of these wonderful people, I was able to connect with the Rheum Champions and apply to become a Rheum Champion. And Jenny encouraged me to do that and share my story there. And then after that, I was able to be invited to be a part of the investigators meeting. So that's kind of how it all happened. It's exciting.
That's wonderful. And I think it's so beautiful that your doctor encouraged you to share your story, because I often hear the opposite. The doctors say, don't go on social media, you're going to get scared, right?
Yes, yes. And so that was something that I am grateful for her because she said, with boundaries, we're going to share your story, but also let's make sure that we're finding people that are encouraging and that will help you to grow through this season and not scare you. And so it really did take a little bit of time to find the right people for me. And once I did, they are so inviting and introduced me to other people. It actually, honestly, was very helpful.
That's wonderful to hear. And Stasha, what about you? What inspired you to start sharing your story more publicly and then become a Rheum champion? That's wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing, Stasha. What about you, Naya? Thank you. Thank you, Naya. What about you, Tanya? What inspired you to share your story publicly and then to become a Rheum champion? We can't hear you.
It off. There we go. There we go. Hi. So I was diagnosed quite a while ago, but I had already been working as a dietitian for quite a few years when I was diagnosed. So rather, my story wasn't to find support, unfortunately, which I should have done. It is always a good idea to find support. But I figured, okay, well, at least I have a master's degree in this field and experience. I'm going to figure out the diet and the lifestyle. And then I did figure out what helped me feel a lot better. So then I kind of put the lupus on the back burner. Okay, I've got that figured out. I can live my life and not worry about it so much. But several years later, I spent probably too much time online, one span of a couple months, and realized, and there were so many people with lupus that were really struggling that were sharing their stories and felt awful. And using my background as a dietitian and also my lived experience as someone with many autoimmune diseases, I finally had the light bulb moment of, wait a minute, I can help a lot of other people with the knowledge that I figured out, the research that already exists, but people just don't know how to implement it in their lives, because you can read a research study, but unless you're a dietitian, you have a background in science, many people would find it difficult to start putting it in place. So that was what inspired me to share my story and also create my private practice that focuses on autoimmune disease. And then when it came to becoming a Rheum champion, I saw it as an opportunity to continue to spread awareness. Obviously, the Rheumatology Research Foundation is doing so much good, not only for helping rheumatologists or medical doctors become rheumatologists in underserved areas, but the research itself is serving everyone in every community related to rheumatology, lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, and so many other conditions. It really felt like a wonderful place to continue to use my voice and help others.
That's lovely. Thank you so much. It's amazing to see how each person's journey has evolved over the years. What about you, Jenny?
So my story is a little bit like Tanya. I wasn't joining for support because I'd already gone through everything. I wanted to use my voice to support others. But I love the fact that it introduced me to amazing people like you. And I joined in Cheryl's Room to Thrive, even though I didn't necessarily need it, but I liked being part of the community and being that another voice of support and connection. And through that, I've met so many incredible people. That's how I met Chelsea, because I do a support group with Megan from It's Meg's Fitness. And so, yeah, it just kind of started as on a whim. One day I was like, hey, there's people out there that are like me that could use some support and love. And why not me? I can do that. And next thing you know, all these opportunities come up of ways to advocate and to share our voice. And Rheum Champion was one of them. And, they dropped into my DMs one day and said, hey, we think you'd be a perfect fit for this. What do you think? And I was like, wow, I feel honored. How can I help support your mission more? And now I've gotten to attend a couple of things, and it's amazing. It's amazing to see that they really genuinely care and want to help support us and see us doing better. And they're okay with sharing what they're working on with us as well. So that's kind of where I'm at.
That's amazing. I can kind of just hear this thread through everyone's stories of like turning our pain into purpose, which I don't take credit for that phrase. I heard it once, but I just love it. It's so poetic. So thank you, whoever coined that phrase. To share very quickly how I got into sharing my story publicly. Actually, it's probably so random. I don't know if there's anyone else who started their arthritis advocacy journey this way, but I had actually made a video for a swing dance video contest And I was thinking, what's my unique angle with swing dancing? Well, I had gotten diagnosed 6 years earlier with rheumatoid arthritis. And so I was like, let me make a video about dancing with arthritis, like some of the things I do to make sure that I can still protect my joints while dancing. Well, little did I know that this video would be forwarded to the Arthritis Foundation, and they would reach out to me and say, hey, you look like somebody who enjoys, sharing their voice. And they asked me to speak at a couple events, and one thing led to another, and here I am now. And it's just, I think initially I was mostly afraid of when I was thinking about sharing publicly. I was afraid that people would like criticize my treatment choices, which has happened. All the things I was afraid of have happened, but the thing that makes it all worth it is that the positives outweigh the negatives so much when it comes to sharing your story. Like, I have people saying, why are you taking those toxic medications or something, if I do an injection video. But then I also have, for every one comment I have saying that, or saying you shouldn't take that, you should just do diet or something else, or yoga, there's like 20 people who will say, oh my gosh, I was so scared to do my first injection, and then I saw your video and I felt like I could do it too. So anyway, it's taken me so many wonderful places. And becoming involved in the Rheumatology Research Foundation, honestly, I feel terrible saying this, but I had been a member of the American College of Rheumatology and Association of Rheumatology Professionals. And whenever I go to the conference, I would see this like rheumatology research thing. I always just kind of walked by it because I was like, I'm going to go see something else. Like in my head, I was like, well, that's for the doctors. Like, that's not like, they're working on that stuff. But in my head, I wasn't, what am I going to do? And even though I'm an occupational therapist, it's really, the foundation really gives grants to doctors. And then I realized, they need help with their public relations sometimes, because researchers are not, as we all found, are not always gifted at these sharing of their stories. Some of them are. Some of them were amazing, dynamic presenters. And others, they're so cerebral, and amazing in their own way. But I think we, as patients who are used to maybe capturing people's attention and providing patient education online, they were actually looking for help from us to help spread the word and get other people interested in the foundation. So long story short, that's how I got involved. But yeah, it's like, what got me involved was that, but what keeps me involved is the community, is meeting all of you, meeting the researchers and the staff at the foundation. I feel like I'm like making a commercial for them right now, but seriously, they're like the nicest, hardworking, most passionate people. And I've worked with a lot of different groups and nonprofits. I'm not comparing. I know I'm not playing favorites, but I'm just saying that I appreciate the Rheumatology Research Foundation a lot. But back to everyone else, because this is a panel, not just me on my soapbox. I wanted to know from each of you, I'm going to start with Chelsea, what is one of the most important takeaways you'll be taking from the 2025 investigators meeting? And it can be something that you learned maybe from the research updates, or just a memory that you'll take with you.
Yes, so to kind of circle back on what you were saying about the people that work for the foundation, I genuinely feel like they are so compassionate with everyone that they meet. At least I felt that way at the investigators meeting, because it was my very first rheumatology event that I've attended, so I didn't know what to expect when going. So I was very nervous when I first got to Seattle, but once I was able to meet everyone that is a part of the foundation, and I saw how much they truly cared and are passionate about rheumatology, it really changed. I don't want to say change my perspective, but it encouraged me and it made me feel like I was where I needed to be to help bring change to rheumatology and bring awareness to it. And I felt like the foundation does a great job with that. And also the fact that there were so many rheumatologists in that room that are sharing their research and how they're impacting the rheumatology world was encouraging to me, and something that I took away from. I left the event feeling encouraged by it, and I think that is what stood out to me the most. And just being able to meet my online friends in person was also a memory that I won't forget. Like, it's just so nice to finally see everybody and just have these sweet conversations in person.
I love that. And I think, more power to you, actually, and in some ways coming to your very first event being a smaller event relative, like about 100 people or less, in some ways it's more intimidating to me than like a giant conference because you're not as anonymous. Like they asked us all to stand up and they recognized us, our participation there. So anyway, I'm so glad that this was your first event. Stasha, what about you? What's something that is a takeaway or a memory that you're going to take with you?
I promise there's not normally this many problems in the studio.
We can't hear you, Stasha.
What is going on today?
Maybe I'll move on to Naya.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. A memory that I will take away from the conference is like getting to meet and know all of you. Cause like here in Atlanta, I don't really have many like rheumatology or friends, like friends with who actually deal with, these rheumatic diseases every day. So like getting close, forming bonds with y'all, like how we did our activities, and even like learning from each of you. Like I know I kept tapping on Jenny during the conference, like, can you help me with this? Can you help me with this? But she was teaching me so much and like learning like how you all create your content or like do different things for your own like brands. Like I feel like it was very empowering to me that I need to do better on my side. And I feel like since the conference, I've been doing a little better with actually like putting advocacy stuff out there, putting rheumatology stuff on my page. Because I would do it, but not like as consistently. So I've been doing better, being more consistent. Let's hope it stays that way. And a takeaway from the conference, or like something that I noticed at the conference, I felt that the conference, like Cheryl said, it was more intimate. So basically, like it was a lot different from ACR conferences. At the ACR conferences, I feel more intimidated there than I did here. I felt more like that. Sorry, my dog sees somebody coming. I'm sorry. Hope. Stop. Okay. Sorry about that. But I felt that it was more intimate and that we could actually talk to the researchers on a personal level, like how we got to interview them. They were very open about their research. And also, like, even when we did the event, I believe it was the second or third night, when we were all just standing at the table, just chatting with the rheumatologists, like, that was very nice and very intimate. And I feel like it helps us get to know the rheumatologists as people more than just like a physician. Like they were telling us life experiences and stuff. So I really appreciated how intimate the conference was.
I love that. 100% agree. What about you, Tanya?
So I did absolutely love the conference, and all of the research that was shared was so impactful because you can see the passion in the eyes of the researchers of thank you so much, the foundation, for giving me the funding so that I could pursue this question. And it ranged all over the place, but all of the main goals were to improve patient outcomes, whether it was figuring out a very, very specific part of a protein or figuring out if telehealth can be as helpful to people as an in-person appointment. They all really were so passionate about their research and absolutely loved sharing it with us. So that was wonderful. But also, I was just so impressed with the foundation and how their track record of fiscal responsibility puts them, I have the stat, in the top 0.5% of charities and in the 16th consecutive year of getting this 4-star rating for basically the money that they use is absolutely almost 100% going towards the things that they say. So there's very little waste. They really are using these donations as best as possible to help everyone.
That's so wonderful. I agree. I already had a good impression of the foundation, but when they said that they were in the top 0.5%, I was like, wow, that is astounding. Yeah, I love it. Jenny, what about you? What's an important maybe takeaway or memory you're going to take with you?
Of course, the memories of getting to spend time with all of you. Can't beat that. That's incredible. I miss you all. I miss you all so much. That was just a really fun week of connection and shenanigans. And I'm glad you guys put up with all of my crazy ideas. And we had so much fun doing Man on the Street. I think at first, a few of them were kind of like, what? You want to do what? But some of them really got into it and had a lot of fun. Then, of course, my other thing that I want to bring up is getting to talk to some of the people that I've kind of fangirled over, but was too shy to speak to last time. Or getting to talk to them and say, hey, guess what? Cheryl and I talked about you at ACR. Do you want to see? So like Novalia, I approached her and she was so shocked and excited. And I was like, here's the graphic we made for you. Would you like a copy? Why, yes, thank you. Thank you so much. And it was great to have that conversation with her and to let her know that patients are excited about what she's working on. And the other gal that I remember sitting down with was, let's see, was it Susan McLaughlin or Ellen Gravelis? We might have talked to both, didn't we?
Yes.
And getting to share with them, hey, we talked about you too. Here's the graphic we made, and we really like what you're working on and your research, linking inflammatory arthritis with cardiovascular disease. Keep going. We're cheering you on. We want to see where you're going to go with this. So those are kind of my two takeaways. All of you and them.
Community on both sides, the patient advocate side and the provider and researcher side. And I do want to say, earlier I mentioned that my impression was that the foundation funds doctors only, which I shouldn't say, that they fund people in various stages of research. So they fund doctors who want to become rheumatologists, but they also fund like PhD researchers. So it was funny, a few times we were talking to a researcher, let's say at their poster presentation, and I would accidentally say, oh, as a rheumatologist, what do you think? And they'll say, oh, I have a PhD in immunology, but I'm not a MD, like I'm not a doctor. So I actually find it really great to get people in a room who have different backgrounds and different frames of reference, because like a PhD researcher, from my understanding, is actually going to have more rigorous training in how to execute research versus the MD doctor rheumatologist is more on the clinical side of making the right decision for the patient based on that research. So it's just, for me, I just loved getting multiple voices heard, especially, the patient voice. And something else that really stood out to me, and I'm like the least cynical person ever, but I honestly have to say I was surprised, like at the end of the day, at one of the long days, I think it was the Thursday, what they did was different researchers would present their research in front of the whole group, and then after 3 or 4 of them would go, there would be a facilitated Q&A session. And in my past experience, usually people start dropping out as the day goes on because they're tired or they're hungry. And I couldn't believe just how mentally sharp and excited and like into it the researchers still were at like 3 p.m., 4 p.m. They were lining up, and some of them were, very, like, I would say senior, older people some of them were legends in rheumatology because I recognize them. They've been involved for, 30, 40 years. And just to me, it was so inspirational seeing people who are not burned out, because right now there are lots of reasons to be burned out in terms of like funding getting cut, or not maybe burned out. There's a lot of reasons for people to be losing hope right now in research, especially. But like this conference was like an antidote to hopelessness because they were excited, they were sharp, they were sharing ideas at the tables and figuring out, okay, how they would raise their hand and say something like, here, hey, have you thought about changing this about your research project to make it even better? And it wasn't like they were defensive, like, no, we can't do that. I was like, oh, thank you. Like, I love that idea. And just that collaboration, that really stood out to me. So kind of wrapping up a little bit, is there anything else you each wanted to share about your experience, that you didn't get to share already? I'll give each person a chance to share one more thing if they would like to, and if not, that's okay too. And then we'll wrap up by saying maybe how people can get involved, because some people are listening, I know right now, and saying, wait, how do I get involved in this? So Chelsea, was there anything else you wanted to share from your experience?
I think the only thing that I wanted to really share about it is just that, kind of like what you're saying, the passion that these specialists still have for rheumatology is encouraging and has inspired me to continue my advocacy. And I'm just excited to see what the future of the foundation has.
I love that. Thank you. And Stasha, what about you?
Do you mind sharing your takeaways since we weren't able to hear you earlier? Okay, good. I just wanted to make sure we didn't miss you.
I love it. I definitely agree with you. The vibe is not always that collaborative at research events, for sure. So at least in my experience. Yeah, they're gatekeeping. Yeah, definitely. Naya, what about you? Is there anything else? Any other takeaways you wanted to share?
No more takeaways. I just want to say, like we all mentioned, I just want to say, like, I'm grateful to the Rheumatology Research Foundation for allowing us this opportunity, for funding us the opportunity to go to Seattle so that we can, like, voice the patients, like, advocate for patients and, like, so that they can hear patient perspectives. Because oftentimes I feel like as physicians or the physicians that I've worked with, they often like they can see the pain and they can see the pain that we're experiencing or acknowledge the pain, but they don't truly understand what it feels like to go through it. And so, yeah, they can prescribe you some medicine or, recommend these options. But sometimes, like, they recommend exercise or more weight bearing exercise to help your joints. But sometimes you can't exercise. So, just hearing, like, the different strategies and everything from the conference, like, for example, when one of the physicians spoke about exercise and how it is used for OA and different like management options they're working towards. That was very impactful to see, like, from that, to see it presented at the conference.
I love it. I loved that session as well on exercise. Tanya, is there any other reflection or takeaway you'd like to share before we wrap up?
I think that for everyone out there, I think one of the most impactful things about the conference was not only
We lost you, Tanya.
I'm sorry. We're cursed, I believe, today with the technology.
Technology, and it's like internet issues galore or something. I don't know. Either that or it's the program today. Hopefully she'll come back.
Yeah, I was like, oh, I really wanted to hear what she's going to say. So, Jenny, what about you? Is there anything else you wanted to share or reflect on before we wrap up?
I want to share about the fact that we're all appreciative, right? So I'm just echoing a lot of that. The incredible people that work for the foundation, they care about everyone and they take the time to get to know every single one of us. And I'd like to think that we want to get to know them too. And so getting to go back a second time, I don't know about you and Stasha, but I feel like, I don't know, we're gaining that rapport. We're getting to know each other a little better. And I want to remind people, if you have not signed up to be a Rheum Champion, please do so, because it's not about having all the answers. It's about wanting to make a difference. And so just do it.
Yeah, that the only requirements for becoming a Rheum Champion are filling out this like 5-minute form online, and then they will share your story on the Rheumatology Research Foundation website. And then also, I think over time they're still building the program, but the goal would be for them to give us Rheum Champions more kind of tasks for us to spread the word about what's going on with the foundation and how patients can get involved. So I'm glad you mentioned that, Jenny, because yeah, I think they want to hear as many diverse voices as they can. Tanya, let's start again with you if that's okay. Is there anything else you wanted to reflect on or share before we wrap it up?
I think the biggest thing was how excellent the Rheumatoid Research Foundation is, Rheumatology Research Foundation is, in terms of the good that they're doing for the field of rheumatology, and how important it is to share that information with patients. That sometimes people feel very lonely in a little tiny bubble of, well, I see my doctor and I'm struggling with my symptoms. So to know, not only is there an entire nonprofit foundation just raising money to advance research, to make sure that people have more access to rheumatologists, but also that there's so much of a community out there. And this is the positive side of the internet, where you can speak with other people, feel less alone, and have hope. Have hope that all this amazing research is going on, have hope that people will have better access to rheumatologists. So I think that the energy, the effort, the passion in the conference, and then how we can share all of that and bring everyone up at the same time was the takeaway that I left with.
I love it. And just to chime in with mine, I'm going to go in reverse order because earlier I shouted out the foundation, the Rheumatology Research Foundation, but now I'm going to shout out the 5 of you, because that for me really was a highlight, being able to spend time in person. We had an opportunity to, have like a formal dinner. And then we also had some just fun, like, oh, we have an hour, let's go to a bookstore together. And we ended up talking about our favorite books. And now we're going to do a little book club, and just those organic opportunities to connect. I'll have a shared identity as like chronic illness patients and rheumatic disease patients and Rheum Champions, but we also were able to connect on all these other things, like, oh, are you dairy free? I'm dairy free too, or gluten free. Which is your favorite romance book, and that's just, for me, that's therapeutic too. There's like direct ways of healing or feeling community of like, let's talk about our illnesses. And then there's like indirect, like let's connect on things that aren't related to our illness at all. And remember that we're human beings, alongside everything. So, again, I will say thanks to the foundation again for the, supporting everyone's travel and lodging there. Because I'm a local, I was able to stay at home, and just drive over, but they reimbursed my parking and stuff like that too. So we just really appreciate that that's a lot of effort that they put into involving patients in the conference, and it's not done for all areas of medicine and research. It's often closed doors. Patients aren't not encouraged to be a part of it. So I really appreciate that. So Jenny already mentioned how to become a Rheum Champion. We'll both put the link for the application in the show notes. Is there anything else, Jenny, that you wanted to say as we wrap it up?
I just want to give a little shout out to the t-shirt that Stasha's wearing, because we all got them. And if I would have been thinking, I could have suggested we wear them.
Of course. I totally forgot.
Yeah. But no, I think we covered everything. Oh, Chelsea, you are wearing the hat, aren't you?
Yes.
Wearing the hat.
Oh, see, look at you two repping.
I love it. I have the water bottle, but I'm not using it today. Oops.
Well, it was so good to catch up with all of you, and I look forward to us being able to do more of this, and I cannot wait for book club.
Yay. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Take care, everyone.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.
Until next time, don't forget your spoon.
Thank you so much for listening. This podcast is supported by Room to Thrive, an educational program I created to help empower you to live life to the fullest with rheumatic disease. In the program, you're going to learn evidence-based tools for managing all the ways rheumatic disease affects your life. And my goal is to help you go from overwhelmed to confident, supported, and connected in a matter of weeks. You can go through the pre-recorded modules on your own in the self-paced course, or you can take the course along with a robust support group of new arthritis friends to support you and cheerlead you along the way. Learn more in the link in my show notes, or you can always go to www.myarthritislife.net. And if you like this podcast, I'd be so honored if you took the time to rate and review it. I also encourage you to share it with anyone you know who might benefit from it. I also want to remind you that you can find full transcripts, videos, and detailed show notes with hyperlinks for each episode on the Arthritis Life website, plus full episode videos on the Arthritis Life YouTube channel. If you have any ideas for content for future episodes, or you want to share your story on the podcast, please send me, Cheryl, an email at info@myarthritislife.net. I can't wait to hear from you, and thanks so much again for your time.